Good morning. So a couple of things that we've been discussing recently and cropped up with clients is, why does my weight fluctuate daily? Why does it fluctuate at different times of day? So I'm just going to explain this for you and hopefully give you a bit of understanding and reasoning behind it all. Hopefully it might help a few of you. And just, test it and see what you think, see what the results are. So there's a few things that crop up when we discuss conversations with clients. Sometimes maybe if they're on a weight loss journey, they may be weighing in and they check the weights and then something's just not right. Okay, so there's a few things that can be going on that affect this and cause this problem. So this may be happen to you. So just I'm just going to give you a bit of a quick insight onto how to potentially mitigate that and hopefully give you some ways around it or some little tips around it. So first of all, what we find is most people don't actually keep their timings with their weigh-ins at the right times of day. So there's no consistency with in terms of their setup. So one thing that you want to make sure you're doing is making sure that you're weighing in on the same day of week each week. If you're doing it weekly, that goes the same for monthly too. Okay. Two is making sure that the timing's right. Okay, so keeping the same time of day, again, because weight can fluctuate throughout the day, and I'll explain more on that in a moment. Three, make sure that your parameters in terms of when you last ate your last meal was at the same time as when you ate the last meal the day before too, because that can also affect weight change. All right, so that's one thing, sort of keeping the parameters all in the right or same area. Okay, the other things that can affect weight: females, monthly cycles, massive effect on weight. Okay, so if you're weighing yourself like weekly and then you find that a couple of weeks of the month that you're all of a sudden a bit heavier than normal, okay, that can be another reason why your weight will fluctuate, because of hormonal changes going on, water retention and so on. I'm sure I don't need to go into detail for the females that watch this. Okay, that's another reason that can affect it. One other thing that can affect your weight when you're weighing in is carbohydrate intake. Okay, carbohydrates, they pull in water. With every gram of carbohydrate you eat, you're pulling in water. So consequently, if you weigh yourself on a Friday, okay, let's say you've kept your calories consistent through the whole of the weekend as well, and then you woof a load of carbohydrates over the weekend, a hell of a lot, that's going to also drag in a lot of water. What happens then is that gets stored. When you weigh in, you end up being basically heavier than what you weighed on the Friday. Okay, and then you're like, where did I gain that weight from? So these are some things that you can just keep an eye on from that side of things. Okay. So just keep your parameters the same throughout. Now let's talk about weight changes during the day. Okay, so daily change. I'm not talking about weekly progress check-ins. I'm talking about daily weight changes. If you've ever weighed yourself in the morning, you'll notice 9 times out of 10 you're lighter in the morning than the evening. There's a few reasons for it. One is to do with your digestive system, okay, and the consumption of food. The other is to do with water. Now, if you're grossly dehydrated in the morning, which, the majority of the population generally don't drink enough water, 2 to 3 litres a day. So what tends to happen is you tend to sweat, especially in the summer months, okay, overnight, and then you tend to lose a bit of water loss, right? So you can end up waking up dehydrated, maybe you got calf cramps or you get cramps, okay, when you're exercising. Can all be markers that it's dehydration that's causing that problem. So just bear that in mind. But what will happen is with water intake, it can massively affect your weight. Okay, so if you drink and test it, by all means test it. So if you massively are dehydrated, for example, like with the water in the morning, you wake up, let's say you weigh yourself, okay, and then by the end of the day you get back on the scales again. Let's say you've drank 4 litres of water in that day, or 3 litres of water, because 3 litres is a good amount to drink. Okay, then what you'll find is you'll probably be about 3 kilos up in weight as well, or two, maybe even two and a half. okay? Because what happens is the water sits in the body's rehydrated itself, so you're going to be carrying that extra bit of weight with you. So you just have to bear those things in mind, and it's not something to stress about. It's just bear in mind that when you take your weigh-ins, that it needs to be structured and it needs to be at specific days and times ultimately, because at the end of the day, there's not really a lot of choices in terms of when you should be like in terms of weigh-ins, check-ins, parameters, and monitoring everything. Sorry, I got totally distracted by the cyclist coming on the pavement. So you want to make sure you've just got set parameters for measuring everything that you do, all right? Rather than being too like, oh, my weight's changed today, or I've gone up by 2 kilos. Yeah, but have you gone up by 2 kilos, or did you overconsume carbohydrates over the weekend? Did you overconsume a lot more water, you know, in the last day or so? There's lots of factors that can affect your weight changes, all right? So there's just some things to look at. Now, if you want my opinion on in terms of weighing in, and this is purely for weight loss, guys, you know, we don't like to solely focus on just purely weight loss, but if it's weight loss, then you only really want to be checking your weight maybe every 2 to 4 weeks, unless you've got a very specific goal in mind that's needs you to drop weight for a very specific reason. Okay, if you check your weight every 2 to 4 weeks, then that way you can gauge how well you're progressing, how your body is getting affected by your training parameters and maybe even your nutrition parameters, because things sometimes the body does weird things, let's just say that, and you can't always measure and control everything that's going on in a given week. So, you know, sometimes you'll lose a pound a week, sometimes you'll lose 3 a week, right? It's just monitoring it over the time and keeping an overall view of it. But the main key part is, like I said at the beginning, the whole point of my video is to make sure that you are taking them at the same days, times, and even sometimes the weeks, so that it's controlled parameters for measuring, so that nothing's going to get distorted. So if you keep it all in line, it'll make it life a lot easier for yourself, all right? Rather than having a negative thing going, oh, I've gained all this weight, or, you know, my weight's changed by a kilo. Ooh, wow. That could be just dehydrated, right? So let's not stress, especially in times like these. We want to make sure that we're focusing more on our health parameters, less on so much on the weight loss. The weight loss will come as a byproduct if you look after your health ultimately. All right, just food for thought for today. So I just thought, while I'm doing my morning walk, and I'll just get in a quick video. It's just something that came up in conversation with a client or so in this last few weeks. So thought I'd share that with you. All right, take care, guys. See you later.